Welcome to Creations of Our World, the podcast that explores the ingenuity behind the objects that shape our lives. I'm your host, Kelly. Today, we're peeling back the layers on a material that is literally all around us, from our kitchens to our cars, but one we rarely think about: wood veneer. And to guide us through this fascinating world, we have a true master of the craft, Veneer Specialist Neil. Neil, thank you so much for joining us.
It's an absolute pleasure, Kelly. I'm always excited to talk about the hidden art and science behind something so seemingly simple.
Great. So let's start with the basics. For our listeners who might think of veneer as just a cheap covering on a bookshelf, what are we really talking about?
That's a very common misconception, but the reality is quite different. Fundamentally, a veneer is a very thin slice of wood, and I mean exceptionally thin, often less than a millimeter thick. The key is that it's sliced from a log, typically with a large blade, rather than sawn.
Sliced, not sawn. Why is that distinction so important?
It's about efficiency and preserving the beauty of the wood. When you saw a log, the saw blade itself turns a significant portion of the wood into sawdust. It's waste. Slicing, however, produces almost no waste. It means we can take a single beautiful log, perhaps a rare burl or a uniquely figured piece of walnut, and generate a massive surface area of matching wood grain. It's a far more sustainable way to use a precious resource.
That makes perfect sense. So it's not about being cheap, it's about being smart with the material.
Precisely. And it's not a new idea. The ancient Egyptians were using veneers on their furniture and sarcophagi thousands of years ago. Of course, they had to do it by hand. The Industrial Revolution brought us the machinery to make the process incredibly precise and efficient.
Okay, so we have these very thin sheets, but the real magic, as I understand it, happens when you start layering them. This is where we get into things like plywood, right?
Exactly. This is the heart of what makes engineered wood so incredibly strong and versatile. We take these individual sheets, or plies, and we glue them together in a stack. But here's the simple yet brilliant principle. We alternate the direction of the wood grain with each consecutive layer. So if the grain of the first layer runs vertically, the grain of the layer on top of it will run horizontally, the next vertically, and so on, at a 90-degree angle to the last.
So you're creating a kind of grid with the wood grain. Why is that so crucial for strength?
Think of a single, thin piece of wood. It's incredibly strong along the length of its grain, but very easy to snap across the grain.
Right, like trying to break a ruler. Easy to snap in the middle, but impossible to pull apart lengthwise.
A perfect analogy. By cross-graining, as we call it, the strong direction of each layer reinforces the weak direction of its neighbors. You're effectively distributing the strength in all directions. This creates a composite panel that's immensely strong, but more importantly, incredibly stable.
Stable in what way?
Wood naturally wants to move. It expands and contracts with changes in temperature and humidity. A solid wood tabletop over years can cup, warp, or even split as it moves.
I've definitely seen that in antique furniture.
Right, but in a cross-grain panel, each layer's movement is restricted by its neighbors. It creates a balanced panel that stays flat and true. This is also why plywood is always made with an odd number of layers, 3, 5, 7 plies. It ensures the panel is balanced, with the grain of the top and bottom sheets running in the same direction.
Fascinating. So the engineering is based on overcoming the natural tendencies of the wood itself.
That's the essence of it. We're using nature's design, but improving upon it for our specific needs.
So you have your stack of alternating veneers. Let's talk about the glue. I imagine you're not just using something off the shelf from a hardware store.
Not in the slightest. The adhesives are a field of chemical engineering in their own right. They are just as critical as the wood. We use specialized resins that are designed to create a bond that is, in many cases, stronger than the wood fibers themselves.
Stronger than the wood? Wow. What kinds are there?
It depends entirely on the application. For interior furniture or architectural panels, we might use a urea formaldehyde resin. It's very strong and cost-effective. But if you need the panel to withstand water, say for marine-grade plywood used in boat building, you'd use a phenolic resin, which is completely waterproof.
I know some people worry about chemicals like formaldehyde in their homes. Has the industry addressed that?
Oh, very much so. There has been a huge push towards low-emission and formaldehyde-free adhesives. Many manufacturers now use soy-based glues or other resins with no added urea formaldehyde, often abbreviated as NAUF. Environmental and health standards are rightly very stringent now.
That's great to hear. So how is this high-tech glue applied?
For large-scale production, the veneers are fed through a machine called a glue spreader. It consists of large rollers that apply a perfectly even, consistent film of resin across the entire surface. Precision is paramount. Too little glue and you get dry spots and a weak bond. Too much and it squeezes out, wasting material and creating a weaker bond because the glue line is too thick.
It sounds like a race against the clock once the glue is on.
It is. The glues have a specific assembly time, a window during which you have to get the layers stacked and into the press before the resin starts to cure on its own. It's a highly choreographed industrial ballet.
Okay, so the layers are stacked and glued. You've mentioned the press. This is where we turn that sticky stack into a single solid panel.
Indeed, this is where immense force comes into play. The stack of glued veneers, which we call a layup, is loaded into a hydraulic press.
I'm picturing something colossal.
They are truly massive machines, sometimes several stories high, capable of exerting hundreds of tons of pressure. There are two main types, hot presses and cold presses.
What's the difference in how they work and what they're used for?
A hot press is the workhorse of mass production. It has heated steel plates or platens. The combination of intense pressure and heat, perhaps 130 degrees Celsius or more, does two things. It ensures intimate contact between all the layers, and it dramatically accelerates the chemical curing of the glue.
So the heat triggers a chemical reaction?
Precisely. It causes the resin molecules to cross-link, transforming them from a liquid into an inert solid plastic. This process, known as thermosetting, is irreversible. A hot press can cure a full panel in a matter of minutes.
Wow, that's fast. What about a cold press then?
A cold press operates at room temperature. It uses glues that cure more slowly, relying purely on pressure to hold the assembly together, while the chemical reaction happens naturally. It can take several hours. This method is often used for more delicate, decorative veneers that might be damaged by intense heat, or for smaller custom workshops that don't need the speed of a hot press.
It's amazing how this technology is everywhere, hiding in plain sight. We started by joking about bookshelves, but where else is veneer technology crucial in our modern world?
Oh, it's truly ubiquitous. Of course, you have all kinds of furniture. In fact, many iconic pieces of modern design, like the Eames lounge chair, are masterpieces of molded plywood, made by pressing veneers into a curved form.
Of course, the Eames chair, that makes so much sense now.
But look beyond furniture. Think of the beautiful wood dashboard in a luxury car. That isn't a solid block of wood. A solid piece would warp and crack with the extreme temperature swings inside a vehicle. It's a perfect, stable veneer applied over a substrate.
That's one I never would have guessed.
It's also used extensively in aircraft interiors, on private jets and commercial airliners, because it provides the look of luxury without the weight of solid wood. Weight is everything in aerospace.
Incredible. What else?
Musical instruments are a big one. The curved bodies of acoustic guitars, cellos, violins, the shells of drums, the grand cases of pianos, all are made by laminating thin veneers. And at the other end of the spectrum, so is every skateboard deck. That concave shape and springy strength is pure laminated maple veneer.
From a grand piano to a skateboard, that might be the best example of its versatility I've ever heard. It really is a foundational technology of our modern world.
It truly is. It's the perfect marriage of the natural, unique beauty of wood and the predictable, stable performance of modern engineering.
Neil, before we wrap up, I'm fascinated by the idea of the artistry involved. We've talked about the engineering and the industrial process, but what about the aesthetics? When you have these huge sheets of veneer from a single log all with a matching grain. How do artisans use that to create these beautiful surfaces we see in high-end furniture and architecture?
That's an excellent question, Kelly, because that's where the true soul of the craft lies. The term we use for this is matching. Because the veneers are sliced sequentially from the log, they're like pages in a book. The grain pattern on one sheet is nearly identical to the next. This gives us a palette to create stunning symmetrical patterns.
So you can create these mirror images. Can you give us some examples of the types of patterns that are created this way?
Absolutely. The most common is book matching, where we open two consecutive veneer leaves like a book, creating a perfectly symmetrical mirrored pattern. This is what you see on high-end conference tables or wall panels. Then there's slip matching, where we slide the leaves over one another without flipping them, creating a repeating, flowing grain. For really spectacular effects, we can use four-way matching to create incredible starburst or diamond patterns from woods with a strong figure, like burls.
Thanks so much for being here with us, Neil. We loved hearing all about your expertise on the area. Don't miss our next episode and find out what other creation we have on the program. If you liked it, please don't forget to like and subscribe.
The pleasure was all mine, Kelly. Thank you for having me. And like she said, subscribe.